Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to City Week. I am your host, Alton West. Today I will have a guest on from the LaGrange Police Department. Also, I will have on a guest from the Troup County School System. So make sure that you stay tuned for those interviews coming up in just a moment.
Just what you're hungry for. It's in downtown LaGrange. You have 17 restaurants to choose from, and each has its own personality, from chef-driven establishments to life on the casual side. Celebrate, create traditions, make new friends, discover new tastes. Downtown LaGrange is simply delicious. So come on down.
Welcome back, City Week, ladies and gentlemen. Today I have a guest on from the LaGrange Police Department. I have on Corporal Wesley Engel. Corporal Engel, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Alton. How you doing?
It's great. I'm doing great. It's good to sit down with you. And I want to talk about something. I'm kind of doing a little back to school series here because I know the school is getting ready to start back. Traffic's going to kind of pick up a little bit because we have school buses there on the road. But before we get into that, talk a little bit about your role there in the traffic division with the police department.
I'm assigned to traffic division. It's myself, it's Corporal me, and Sergeant Armstrong. We do a lot of with the school crossing guards. We get them ready, and a lot of times the school crossing guards can't get it. We'll have new officers out there, and the officers been there for a while. They'll get out there and direct traffic because the traffic is so hectic. Getting in and out of schools. A lot of the parents on the way to work or taking their child back to school, and some people, it's just probably easier. It's more convenient for the parents to actually drive them off school than take a school bus, which school bus is a great thing. It gets the kids back and forth, but we try to let them know about. Everybody wonders about safety. They said it's the average of 24 children are killed on school buses a year, and actually 11 are occupants of the school bus, and most of them, and 13 of them are pedestrians.
Okay.
And kind of get ballpark figures, about 23 million children that are actually riding in school buses every year. So everybody always says about the seat belts, why they don't have seat belts, but the bus is they're safe, they're higher up on the ground, and they've not, the law doesn't require them to wear it on a school bus.
Let me ask you, you were talking about car riders too. Car riders, parents are taking the kids to school, dropping them off, things of that nature. But talk about if you are a car rider and you approach a bus, or just cars approaching a bus.
Well, a lot of times when school starts back, it kind of shocks everybody. They kind of get used to, in the summertime, there's no buses there, so it requires a little less time getting to work. So I always encourage people to go ahead and plan on it, which is I think August 10th. I think they're going back this year.
That's correct, August the 10th.
So parents, we want to give them a heads up and kind of let them know to start giving you a 10, 15 minute time, because you get behind a school bus, they're periodically stopping every few yards or few feet, depending on how the bus route is. And it's going to be the first couple of days, the bus drivers, they might have a new bus driver on the route, not familiar with the route, or a couple of the bus drivers might have been there a while and actually changed routes, which is better for them. So they might be taking them a couple of weeks or so to get down pat with the routes. So with the routes are going on. So I always encourage people, I'd give yourself 15 to 30 minutes earlier the first week going to school, so you can kind of evaluate the traffic, because as we know, the school buses, they're regular how fast they can go, and they're stopping, and kids, the smaller the kids are, they're excited. It's going to be their first week back to school, so they're going to be a little hesitant playing around the bus, and a lot of times before the bus gets here, you'll pass the kids that are playing out there at the school bus, so the school stops. So you probably need to be more cautious of them and watch for the children running out and playing, because they're going to be excited the first week or so going back to school and not being as alert, used to being up that early and that stuff. So you need to prepare yourself for it. And then if you're taking your children to school, plan on the traffic congestion, because people's not going to be used to it. And the school crossing guards, we usually get them out and get them up and ready, and they help us tremendously on the school crossing. And when they're out or something, usually an officer's there. So we try to cover. There's 2 at Troup High. There's one at Lafayette Christian School on Hamilton Road. So and they're not that far apart. So it gets kind of backed up a little bit. Then especially coming off the interstate, it goes from that 2-lane highway to the 4-lane, that starts backing up. So, and the school buses and stuff like that's going to be, and everybody's not going to be used to the traffic, because it's been a couple months since we had school.
That's right. I want to talk about a couple of things there. I want to go back in a moment about school bus safety, but you also mentioned about school crossing guards. When they are out there, and of course most of them have on the vest and they have the stop sign and things of that nature. That's just like a traffic control device.
It is a traffic control device.
Right.
Even when the officer's out there, we got them with stop signs, we got them with the light green vest on, gloves,
Right.
hats, trying to make them noticeable where people will see them, and that way they're real visible and stuff. And especially when it's raining, they got the full rain suit. So listed as crossing guards because it is a traffic control device, and they're doing it so they're usually retired, and they kind of help us out and still working a little bit, and they're out there helping us. Without them, and we tie up a lot of officers on the school crossing, so it's a very, very good benefit we have, and they get paid by the city and everything, and we're constantly looking for crossing guards.
Okay, all right. I want to go back to talk about school bus safety. You were giving some statistics a moment ago. About 23 million kids ride the bus, during the year or thereabout. How safe are school buses in your opinion?
They're pretty safe. I mean, you figure a bus is metal still. I mean, it's a lot higher above the ground. And the seats are a lot taller. They're high backs on them. They got and as long as the kids are sitting down. I mean, because a school bus is not. I think they only go 55 miles an hour.
Okay.
And they haven't made them wear seat belts because they are so safe. I mean, you figure 23 million children transported a year throughout the United States, and only 24 fatalities. And if you look at that, and out of the 24 fatalities in Georgia, and only 11 are actually on the bus.
Only 11.
And only 13 of them are pedestrian. Usually the most dangerous part for the children are when they're getting on and off the school bus.
Right.
We've had children run over by the drivers, and we always tell them that's when they've got the arms where the kids walk so far out so that they don't obstruct the driver's view. And a lot of people get confused on when to stop for a school bus.
Yeah.
And like New Franklin Road, if there's one on New Franklin Road, which there is, every one that picks up, you have to stop.
Right.
The only time you wouldn't stop would be when you get over on the Hamilton Road and you got that median in the middle, right past the high school. It's got the big grass area. And while I kind of break it out for everybody, as a median like on the interstate, or there's a divider between them. That way the kids are not going to cross in front of you. But any lane you got, you need to stop for the school bus. And the school bus drivers are pretty good. They put a yellow light out way ahead of time to let people know. And because stop figure, if it was your child getting on off the school bus, you wouldn't want nothing to happen to them neither.
Good point you bring about the yellow light, because I know they normally, you see the flag comes out, and like you say, the lights are blinking yellow, and then at a certain point they'll turn to red. So on the yellow blinking, it is okay to pass. But when the red light is illuminated and blinking, all traffic has to stop.
Yes, sir.
Because I've seen, over the course of time, you've seen people, just like they do the traffic control light, they try to beat the yellow light, rush it, speed up. But that's not advisable. They should probably be preparing to stop. Is that
right? The yellow light's like a caution. And even on a traffic control device, yellow light means prepare to stop. Your green movement's been terminated. So the bus drivers try to put the yellow light on, which is kind of giving you, hey, look, we're fixing to stop. We're fixing to pick the kids up. Because if you go by that yellow light and it goes red, and the officer sees you, he's going to write you a citation.
Okay. Very good information for them to know. And bus stops, I know that along some of the bus routes, and I'm going to have Jeff Turner come on and talk about the actual bus stops and locations. And you were talking a moment ago about, buses don't go that fast because they probably got to go to the next stop there. Should cars attempt to pass in those short distances?
No, I mean, if it's a legal pass, you could, but if you do pass, you need to be real careful because the school bus could go that short distance. And you figure, you might take the same way to work all the time. They might stop at this house this year, but it might be a different bus. Somebody else could have moved in the neighborhood and they've established a new bus stop. So, I would be very cautious with that, because especially the first week or two till you get familiar with the bus stops and the routes, because they're changing the routes every year due to the fact that, depending how many kids is going where, which schools. And,
that's right.
And, West Side closed down. Now everything's going to Ethel Kite. So that's might increase. It might cause, because of transportation, they might be coming through there at a different time. Normally, like maybe last year, you didn't see a school bus with Ethel Kite, everything going over to Ethel Kite from West Side. Where they moved it from the west side and made that, they moved it back. The buses might be out there earlier.
That's right.
So that first week you need to kind of learn the bus routes and see, take your time, get to work. you know, because we want our children to get to school safely,
Absolutely.
and then people go to work safely, and that's our main concern in the traffic division, is that people go in and out of the City of LaGrange without being involved in an accident or having safe travels through there.
Absolutely. You know, such vital, important information. And we're sitting here today with Corporal England. We're talking about back to school. For those of you that may have just joined us, of course, we know the school starts on August the 10th. And again, we're going to see a little bit more traffic, which is going to be a little bit more, not to say problematic, but it's going to give you and your officers a little bit more, you know, things to do and to watch out for because our buses are rolling.
Yeah, they're gonna be doing it. Then we got LaGrange High. You're gonna have a lot more students crossing the roadway there, and there's gonna be you'll have people that's not familiar with going, like they might have been going to the middle school, now they're kids in the high school. They might not be familiar with how everything goes and how the traffic flows, and they might be a little unclear what's going on, you know. So that's what I always tell people, that first week or two, kind of give yourself that extra time, because a lot of people's going to be changing. Their kids are going from one different school, like if they went from the middle school to the high school, or if they went from maybe the Lafayette Christian School this year, and instead of going to the Troop High, or they might be going to LaGrange, because if you're not familiar with going that way, you don't know how heavy the traffic is.
Absolutely. I want to kind of shift gears just a little bit before we close out here, though, Corporal, if you don't mind. Child restraining systems. And I know that I can remember my grandkids were growing up. They, at 5 years ago, they were excited about being able to ride in the front seat with Pawpaw. Talk about the law now as it applies to child restraining systems.
Well, it used to be under age 5 they had to have a child restraint. Now it's actually changed in the past year, about 2 years ago.
Okay.
It moved up to the child of 8. They need a booster seat due to the fact that a lot of your seat belts doesn't come high enough on the neck. And, you know, if it's irritating the child, he's not going to wear it properly. And so the booster seat's going to bring them up higher where they're sitting. They don't recommend putting anybody in the front unless you have to, like the car's full, at least till they're 12 or older. Due to the fact, because so many cars have side airbags, they got frontal airbags, and when them things deploy, they're pretty quick and startling for them, you know. And you want to make sure that the seat belt's properly up there where it's going to protect them. That's the main thing, is keeping our children protected while they're riding around.
Absolutely.
Not that the driver's not a safe driver. It just, you know, some people just got so much going on with, you got the cell phones and of course, you know, texting, that's against the law for anybody. And a lot of parents don't realize that even though their child is 16, they're still not supposed to be on the cell phone.
That's right. Absolutely.
You know, remind your child, if you're going to have them call you when they get into school, because by Georgia law, you have to be 18 or older to actually talk on the cell phone while you're operating a vehicle.
Well, you know, there's so many things that we could talk about, but I'm going to tell you, I always appreciate you coming on the show and sharing your information and sharing your knowledge to make sure that we keep our streets of LaGrange safe, to keep our students safe. So, ladies and gentlemen, as our schools get ready to start back, make sure that you do all that you can do to make sure that our kids get off to a great school year. Take that extra 15, 30 minutes that Corporal England has talked about, and let's make sure our kids go back to a happy and safe school year. Thank you very much for being on the show today.
Thank you, Alvin.
All right.
Have a good day.
Ladies and gentlemen, stay tuned for more at City Week in just a moment.
Troup County Schools.
A place where you can learn and grow.
A place where teachers care.
A place where family and school come together.
A place where learning matters.
A place preparing students for a bright future.
Whether going to college
or into the workforce.
Troup County Schools, preparing students for success today.
Welcome to City Week, ladies and gentlemen. As we continue our series on school starting, I have with me the Transportation Director from the Troup County School System, Jeff Turner. Jeff, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much.
Well, it's a pleasure to sit down with you. And I know the summer's over, kids are back in school, the buses are rolling.
Yes, sir.
And I know that you are one that's responsible kind of making sure that everything kind of gets coordinated well and that the kids are picked up and everybody's kept safe as far as the school year is concerned. Tell us a little bit about your role and responsibility, if you don't mind, Jeff.
Be glad to. My role and responsibility is to ensure the safe and efficient transportation for all students in Troup County. This past summer, we have serviced all our buses. The drivers have come in to do safety training, prevent bullying, and to also learn about the code of ethics for educators and teachers. And so my job and role is to basically oversee the safety and the transportation of all students.
Okay, very good. And I was talking with Yolanda. I had Yolanda come on, the PR director, and she was talking about approximately 12,000 students, I think we have in the school system citywide.
That's correct.
Okay, very good.
Countywide, yes.
Countywide, that's right. Now, and when we talk about the big cheese, that the kids refer to it as, right? The big cheese, the big cheese is now rolling. And there's some things some changes that the general audience need to be aware of. I know that we have Ethel Kite that is reopened. Talk about that, if you don't mind.
Well, we're proud to, Ethel Kite is opened, a beautiful building and facility. A lot of work and effort went into the summer to get that ready for the start of the year. The routes are basically somewhat the same. We just have a different delivery point and pickup point.
Okay.
But we're glad to have that open. For the routes, major changes came from, we had the closing of Mountville School last year. So there was some major changing and adjusting there. And then also this year we've added our opening the Think Academy. So that did some adjusting to our routes for the morning and afternoon. So those are our major changes that we've had with our routes.
Okay, very good. And I understand that the school system is working with transporting kids over to Think Academy from the various schools.
That is correct.
Okay,
that is
very
correct.
good,
Yeah.
very good. And Mountville closed this year, so that route now is pretty much eliminated. Let me ask you a question, Jeff, because a lot of times, I think back to the days that I rode the cheese, and the bus would stop primarily at each home along the route. Do they still do that now, or how do y'all stage gathering and picking up children?
Good question. To make the routes more efficient and safer, what we do is have what we call common stops or designated bus stops.
Okay.
Where a child may have to walk up to anywhere from 1/10 to 2/10 of a mile to maybe even 3/10 to get to a bus stop.
Okay.
Best practice says you do not have bus stops within 1/10 of a mile from each other. This helps in safety because it decreases anytime we have a bus stop. That's where the students are vulnerable as they're trying to get on and off the bus, and that's where in the past fatalities have happened at bus stops. So if we can eliminate bus stops, have more students getting on at one time, then that helps us in our safety and keeping all students safe as they ride the buses.
Okay, very good. And we were talking before we came on the air. Let's say, for example, a child misses the bus.
Yes.
And they're in the car with the parent, and the parent wants to maybe follow the bus to the next stop. Is that appropriate for them to do?
No, sir. That is very unsafe for them to do.
Okay.
If a child misses a bus, what we instruct them to do is, if they're late getting to the bus stop or for whatever reason, we ask them to go back in the house, call somebody, an adult, and that adult needs to transport them to school. We've had incidents in the state before where a child misses a bus. They're running after the bus because they know there's a bus stop right around the corner. We've had children that have been hit by the bus and other cars and have died. So for the safety of everyone, if they miss the bus, please do not chase the bus because the bus driver's not expecting that student to be at the next bus stop.
Okay, all right. And that's so important, in talking about, as far as the number of students that ride the bus and the number of fatalities. And I think you had some information about that as well that you'd like to share with us.
Yes. Unfortunately, Georgia, for the last 6 years, have led the nation in fatalities in the state of Georgia, school bus fatalities, where at the bus stop. But last year we had 0 fatalities, so we're very proud. We've done a very assertive effort and push to decrease that number, so we don't lead the nation. But last year we did succeed in having 0 fatalities, and that's why it's so important that we don't chase buses, we don't go to unscheduled stops and things like that. That'll help us in keeping that 0 fatalities.
Absolutely. And that's what we want, because we don't want to hear about anybody's child being hit by a car. And talking about those fatalities that happened, last year, Jeff, what was it called? Was it vehicles passing the bus? Was it kids perhaps in that clear zone? What was the reason?
It was a combination. We had around the bus is what we call the danger zone. 12 feet around the bus is what we call danger zone. We try to keep students out of that danger zone.
Okay.
We've had students, for whatever reason, get back in that danger zone and the driver was unaware and accidentally ran over the child. We've had other situations where motorists would run the stop sign. So the bus driver is really trying to watch the child and watch the other cars as the child is getting off the bus in the afternoon. We've had cars run the bus on the right side, so if the child stepped down onto the ground, they would have been hit. So the driver is trying to watch the child, watch motorists around them. So you can imagine that everything that goes into keeping these children safe.
That's right.
But there's always that one time where something happens, and we're trying to avoid that one time.
Absolutely.
Because we certainly don't want a fatality in Troup County or anywhere in the state of Georgia.
Absolutely.
Or anywhere.
You know, I was watching the news. It's been probably a month or so ago, during the summer, and I think maybe in summer schooling, you may have seen this video where just what you just described, a child was getting off the bus on the right side, and all of a sudden you saw this vehicle came screaming down the right-hand side, you know, barely missing the child. And I'm like, how in the world is someone not paying that much attention to a big cheese with the lights illuminated?
Exactly.
You know, and those are the things that we just don't want to happen to our young people.
Exactly. Exactly.
Now, let me ask you now, we're talking about one of the things, share the road.
Yes, sir.
Just like motorcyclists, I think sometimes, you know, the buses and motorcycles don't get the respect that they're due. What would you say to the drivers as school has now gotten started? The buses are rolling. What would you say to the drivers of the community?
Please, when you see that bus, excuse me, be expecting a bus stop, especially if you see the yellow lights flashing. That bus is getting ready to stop and the stop arm's coming out. I know that there are times when we're running late and we got to get around that big cheese.
That's right.
But again, remember, lives are at stake. And if something happens and you cause an accident or hit something, that 5 extra minutes that it would take for you to wait, it will be priceless.
That's right.
Because you will not be able to live with yourself if you know that you damaged or hurt or even killed one of our students in Troup County.
Absolutely. You know, like you say, 15, 30 minutes. Take you that extra time to leave early.
Right.
As we all know, you know, the bus is going to be stopping.
Right.
And there's going to be a little bit more traffic on the roadway. So we definitely want to make sure that we share the road.
Yes.
Now let's talk a little bit about, we're talking about everything that we can do exteriorly to keep the kids safe when they're on the bus. Let's talk about the kids as they ride the bus themselves. What are some of the safety rules that you all advocate through the school system?
We have, like most of the schools, we have a list of rules on the bus, our appropriate behavior. Main thing is just respect the driver and respect each other passengers. Remember, that driver is driving a huge vehicle with lives on the bus, but yet we're having to watch for traffic, animals, deer, loading, unloading, watching other students get on and off the bus. And every time that driver is distracted, it increases the chance of something happening. We want that driver to be fully alert in driving that bus so that they can focus on safely transporting these students. So we ask, again, all students to be respectful, be quiet, listen to the driver, and follow instructions of what the driver asks them to do.
Absolutely. It's so important because, as you stated, you know, the more distractions, and you're talking about 20, 30 little individuals behind them with the various personalities and talking and sometimes things may get out of hand. And then also the students need to realize the buses are equipped with cameras. Is that fair to say?
That's true. All the buses have cameras and they're there for protection if things go wrong that we need to investigate. So we do, they are being recorded digitally recorded on the buses.
Okay.
One thing I would stress too, especially at railroad crossings, by law, they need to be quiet, and the driver will train them. So when they pull up to a railroad crossing, they need to be completely quiet. As part of the procedures is to open the window and the door to listen for trains.
That's right.
As well as visually look for trains. But that driver needs to be fully focused on trying to cross that tracks very safely.
Absolutely. You know, there's so many things that go into, you know, when you're talking about transporting lives.
Yes.
And the lives of other people's children.
Exactly.
You know, the driver needs the full cooperation of the students.
Yes.
The driver also needs the full cooperation of the other drivers on the roadway.
Exactly.
To make sure that everybody arrives where they need to safely.
Right.
Let me ask you now. I know that once upon a time, and I know it may be, I'm not sure, they used to have bus monitors as well. Do they still have bus monitors that ride many of the buses?
We do have a few bus monitors.
Okay.
I wish we had more.
Okay.
It helps the driver because it's another set of eyes on the bus.
Right.
They kind of monitor the students and take care of questions or situations that may arise.
Okay.
So that it allows that driver to fully focus on driving the bus safely.
That's right.
Again, we're probably, I don't know the exact number off the top of my head, but we do have a few monitors that ride our buses.
Okay. All right. Well, very good. Now, Jeff, has anybody had any questions for you about, you know, bus safety or about bus routes, anything like that? How can they get in touch with you?
They can call the transportation office. I'm there available. I have assistant director, Mr. Kim Harcrow. He's available. We do have 4 supervisors that handle all the routing in the different zones. We got Callaway zone, LaGrange zone, Troop zone, and then our special need. We have a zone for it too. So
Okay. All right. Very
they
good.
certainly can call the office, and we'll be glad to talk to anybody.
Okay. If you don't mind, give them that number that they can reach you at.
706
Okay.
812 7935.
Okay, because as school gets started, I'm sure we have some new people to the community.
Yes.
May want to get information about bus right now. I know that there's been school orientations at the various locations, and would they perhaps may have gotten that information, but still they may
That's
want to
correct.
give you a call.
Yes.
All right? Well, Jeff, thank you for being on the show today and sharing this information. And we're going to make sure that we help our general public and those on the buses to do everything that they can to keep our precious cargo safe. So thank you very much for being on the show.
Thank you.
All right.
Glad to be here.
Ladies and gentlemen, stay tuned for more City Week in just a moment.
Just what you're looking for. You'll find it in one of the 28 shops in downtown LaGrange. Remember old school customer service? It's still here. Not to mention that perfect gift. That's the beauty of downtown LaGrange. So come on down.
Ladies and gentlemen, as we continue our series of Back to School for our students, let's make sure that we all do our part to keep our students safe. I have had on today from the LaGrange Police Department, Corporal Wesley Engel, as he talked about traffic safety for school buses and also traveling motorists.
You know, a lot of people get confused on when to stop for a school bus.
Yeah.
And like New Franklin Road, if there's one on New Franklin Road, which there is, every one that picks up, you have to stop.
Right.
The only time you wouldn't stop would be when you get over on the Hamilton Road and you got that median in the middle, right past the high school. It's got the big grass area. And while I kind of break it out for everybody, as a median like on the interstate, or as a divider between them. That way the kids are not going to cross in front of you. But any lane you got, you need to stop for the school bus.
Also, I had on from the Troup County School System, Jeff Turner, the Transportation Director, as he talked about some route changes and also some safety rules that our kids and adults can keep in mind as our young people travel back to school.
For the safety of everyone, if they miss the bus, please do not chase the bus, because the bus driver is not expecting that student to be at the next bus stop.
Ladies and gentlemen, I hope that you enjoyed these interviews, and as always, I want to invite you back for more of City Week.
Why United Way? Because 99 cents of every dollar donated to United Way of West Georgia stays right here to help your neighbors. Yes, 99 cents. United Way makes every penny count. You can count on United Way, and United Way of West Georgia is counting on you. Please give today.